Hey, real quick, just as a heads up, this has tons of spoilers, and this is before the director came out and said it wasn't a reboot or whatever he said. We'll talk about that on another day. But this is before all that, and it has tons of spoilers. Enjoy.
Bobby and I, along with Marilyn Phil, had the pleasure of seeing the Bumblebee movie on Thursday night.
We should probably talk a little bit more about that on this show.
We should.
This episode. Looking at the comments to the YouTube video, I was like...
I think it was... I looked at those, and I normally don't look at the comments, but I did look at those, and a lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion on our direction.
I think it did...
I didn't see it with you guys. Mm-hmm. And from watching the video, I did watch the whole video. Mm-hmm. It did come off as being a very negative experience. But then when I talked to you Christmas Eve, you're like, no, it's fine. It's like Mac and Me. Or, better. But it's not. That's not how.
Didn't come across.
Yeah,
that
it
way.
was
even
portrayed.
Though doing stuff like that, it's hard to keep track of the vibe.
Yeah.
If you watched that review and you had and you were going to do a review of that review and you got a pen and paper out, the positives that are mentioned are far greater than anything else. It's just that we spend time on the negatives.
Yeah, because you gave it like a kind of a. I think I gave it 7.5.
I gave it a 7, and that was one of the most fun experiences I've had in the theater in a long time. And it's probably not for the reason they wanted me to.
Yeah,
I mean, I was literally laughing out loud at some of it. LOL.
Do you think it'd be a kind of a cult following type thing? It has that potential.
No, but I think it'll be endeared.
Okay, I mean that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, but not culty. Like I think it'll be like an endearing children's movie. Like kids that see this movie now that are kind of somewhat okay with this sort of
20 years now, don't go back.
yeah. But I think they'll grow up with fond memories of it. I don't think that it's inherently a bad movie. I think that there's nothing new about it, and I think that the stuff that they did.
What was the whole premise?
The story is that Bumblebee is a scout. And he is sent from Cybertron to Earth to find if it's going to be a good place, I guess, or maybe...
Yeah, to set up a base.
Yeah, to set up a base for the Autobots to evacuate. He's trailed by 2 Decepticons.
That are triple changers.
Yes, and they are trying to find him and stop him, and also trying to bring the Decepticons to Earth.
Hey, Adam, do you want to guess what their names are?
No.
Just guess anything.
Blitzwing and... Flapjack.
Sure.
You might be right.
That's great. We'll go with those.
Because I don't know if they're ever mentioned by name.
They're not mentioned by name the entire time.
Really?
Maybe in the credits
hold on,
there's a name.
I do have a question. Wasn't Bumblebee here at World War II?
There's a lot of questions as to whether or not this is a reboot, right? And there are things that destroy the continuity of movies before. But I can go through those movies and find things that destroy the continuity of movies before. But there is enough here to suggest that it is a hard reboot.
Yeah.
The problem is that I think most of those things were added in to make it a reboot at the end.
They changed the script like last minute?
I think they just added all that G1 in the last minute, and that's kind of what made it a reboot, because if the G1 stuff happens, then Bumblebee didn't come here during World War II era. And I also think that initially the idea was that this takes place in the same movie universe as 1, 2, 3, and 4, but 2, 3, and 4 don't really matter anymore, and it doesn't have anything to do with 5, as I think the initial...
Which one was 5?
Last night, there was one you almost walked out of.
Oh, yeah. And I don't even remember why I've dumped those brain cells.
Yeah, because it's the stuff in the G1 stuff that definitely feels added. Because if you take away that G1 stuff, right, it's a Bumblebee that looks similar to the Bumblebee in the Bay films.
Yeah.
His voice box gets damaged, so...
They do explain how that happens.
They explain how that happens.
How did that happen?
Somebody ripped it out, basically.
Yeah, he fights with Blitzwing, who looks like Starscream.
At the very beginning?
Yeah, and it damages his... voice box
on Cybertron?
No, on Earth. And that fight you see in the trailer where they're like running through the woods and with Blitzwing in it.
Yeah.
That fight. So it all ties directly into the continuity of 07. Mm-hmm. All of it. The voice box damage comes from he's here before the other Autobots get here, etc. All that ties directly into it. All the G1 is what says like, okay, well, it couldn't have taken place in the same universe as 5, because in 5 he was here during World War II era.
Yeah.
And then at the end, him and Prime are together.
Yeah.
So Prime couldn't have got here the same way that he got here in 07. But I think that all of the stuff that really involves Prime was just fanfare that was added after the fact, which I welcome, because I think it is the right choice. I just wish if they were going to say, look, let's make a line in the sand and start over, just had made that line a little harder.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
The main antagonist, Blitzwing, who is dispatched in the first fight, and then
Are you serious?
and he's never named by name either. And then the two triple changers,
Is Blitzman a triple changer?
you don't see a third mode.
No, you just see the jet.
So I don't know. Maybe he's as much of triple changer as all of them.
And do you see?
Let me finish this. So like if you follow this story, that this is when Bumblebee first got here. This is the dangers he faced. This is how he lost his voice. He met with this girl, and he was tracked by these two Decepticons, and he beat them and went back into hiding.
Yeah.
It all lines up perfectly with 07, and it all feels like part of that world because like the Decepticon villains look Bayversy. They look more Bayversy than most of the other characters. They still have like a crab-like face.
Yeah.
And they're also like, they're throwaway characters. They're not like in typical Bayverse fashion. So it all kind of lines up there. It's just now you add these bookends of G1, and now you've changed the dynamic, which I think is the right choice. But it doesn't make the heart of the story any better or worse. It just feels like a children's version of 07.
And do you think that this lines up a G1 sequel to this?
It could line up a G1 prequel.
Okay.
But even so, Megatron's not in it, right? You know, and they were going to add Megatron to it, and they decided not to. And I guarantee you, at that table, they were like, "Well, because he's frozen at the Hoover Dam." You know, so like, I don't think they knew what they were going to do with this movie until the very
Last second.
Just like the last 5.
Yeah. I think that they
Last 4.
Right
Last
the script
4.
as they go.
I think that when they
Let's be fair. The original Transformers was not bad for its time. It was a bad Transformer movie.
Yeah, the original, the 07 movie is not an inherently bad movie.
Yeah.
It's a fine movie about robotic space monsters. It's just not a great
Transformers movie. I agree. I agree.
Like, I think when they had the
It's a
blueprint,
great Transformers movie.
when they had the blueprint to this movie, they made decisions like, we will not have Megatron in it because he's frozen. He's going to have to lose his voice. He's going to like that. They made these decisions so that it lined up within continuity. And then it was only in ninth inning they were like, you know what? I'm not sure if people care, and people are really mad about this Starscream Blitzwing thing, and let's just go for it.
I think what they ultimately were trying to do was to catch the people that were fans of the Bayformers movies and the G1 fans and try to catch them all in this net. And I'm not sure that they did that successfully. The box office says they didn't. It did
flop?
It did 20 million.
Yeah.
It did.
Well, I mean, it's going against Aquaman and Mary Poppins and Spider-Man. It was f***ing stupid
Yeah.
to bring it out at this time.
Yeah.
Dumb.
I enjoyed it. I'll watch it again and laugh at it again. I mean, there's some things over there just.
So what happens
so
at the end? Like the girl, did he stay with the girl and whatnot?
No, he leaves the girl.
Okay.
And
He drives away with a red cab over truck and trailer.
Correct. And then him and Optimus have a little talk at the end, which is like a post-credit scene, which I also guarantee you was added in.
It was Optimus on Earth
Yes.
in the 80s.
Yes.
Okay.
In the end, at the bookends. Like the bookends are what they added in my opinion.
And there's one scene in the middle that's.
Yes. There's actually two scenes. So there's one scene in the middle where he gets his memories back, right?
Yes.
And then there's the other scene where the two Decepticons encounter Cliffjumper.
Yes, I forgot about that.
But they don't need, the story doesn't need that beat. So
doesn't.
I think that was added in as well to tie it
So
back.
does Cliffjumper look just like him?
No, not just like him, but
Well,
as
Are
much.
they brothers type of thing?
Oh, no.
No, but if you saw a picture of it, you would say, yeah, it's Cliffjumper.
It's unmistakably
And
Cliffjumper. But
if you did recognize
Is he a
it,
Porsche?
no, he doesn't come to Earth.
this is
Oh,
on the moon.
Okay.
But if you did not recognize who he is, I think he says his name like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yet these other people never. I was waiting on them to introduce
On
him.
Cybertron, you see RC, Brawn.
Really? Mm-hmm. They look good?
They look
G1?
They look G1.
Okay.
It looks like it's a video. It's like
Yeah.
It looks very video gamey. But like, if they want to give me that as a movie like that, I'd be definitely interested.
Sure.
I'd be interested in the prequel to Bumblebee. Like, buy my tickets as soon as I could. And I don't think this movie's bad. I do think it's for kids, but I don't think it's bad because it's for kids. And people got that very confused in the comments and such. One of my issues I have is that it's the marketing. Like, look at Soundwave, look at Laserwave, Shockwave. Look, here's Optimus Prime, here's the Tetrajets, here's they're
the Tetrajets were there?
Yeah, they're trying to bring us into the theater. I mean, even you were like, dude, this one I might have to go again. I might have to do. That's who that is marketed towards. And then you get there, and it's not that.
Well,
movie.
I wasn't going to go see it till you guys ruined it with your review.
Yeah,
So.
and it's not that movie. That doesn't make it a bad movie. But I just wanted to talk that night about how it is not that movie.
Yeah.
There are things that make it not a great movie. John Cena is one of those things.
How dare you?
Yeah.
He's all over the place. I mean, he's in that movie way too much.
Oh, really?
the fact-
Is he the main antagonist? Is the antagonist some really misunderstanding?
Yeah, it's both, but it's just funny because at the end, like presumably a lot of his men.
Let me guess. At the end, John Cena's got him dead to rights. He makes a call to let him go.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. But in this after Bumblebee, I think has like hurt a lot of his people, his officers or soldiers that are underneath him.
Yeah,
but he's kind of like, you know what? I can see past that too. You got a heart of gold, B. I'm going to go visit these guys while they're in the hospital, though, because they're all in really bad shape.
He actually says that?
No. But like, so like that's an issue I take with the movie, and then I don't have any interest in this movie. Is really my main beef with it. Structurally, I think that the G1 stuff, while the most quote unquote enjoyable, is the least needed for the film, and then on top of that, John Cena, and then on top of that, taking away Bumblebee's voice. I think it was the biggest error. I think it should have happened in the last fight, that's when he lost his voice, because the moment that you do that, you take away the characterization of Bumblebee, and now he goes from this very competent scout entrusted to go to another place to find logistical setups for a military organization in a far-off reaches of space, and now you have him sitting on the couch and crushing the couch and being like, whoa, I'm too big for this couch.
Because he's like loses his memories?
No, he's just interested in what's going on.
He's just he was a puppy.
He goes through he tries to go through the doggy door, and then obviously he doesn't fit and destroys their house.
Yeah,
basically.
and like that's cool for kids.
Yeah.
I don't think it's cool for Bumblebee as a character.
There were some people in the theater that were very, very pleased with that scene.
That's one in particular. I don't think that there's no Eddie Murphy was there. It's a long story. He was there. Those actions, jumping onto the couch, hopping behind the rock that's obviously like the size of this phone, but you're hiding with like your hands over your head. It's cute and it's funny and it's endearing and it's charming, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for the character that they've established him being in those opening and closing bookends that don't make sense for that movie. That's the problem. The coolest thing about the movie is the biggest detriment to the movie.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, Chris, continue.
So
and Aquaman washed everything. It's a water joke.
Took those other movies out to sea.
Gotcha.
Left them like a damp sock.
Spent some time this past weekend cleaning my workspace.
Everything else was on a sinking ship.
Oh boy, the water jokes.
Flooded the market.
All those other movies were very salty about their success.
I mean, just look, honestly, this movie's going to be a whale.
Some would say he was the king of the weekend.
It really sealed the deal. All right, I'm done.
I think we need to sit down. We're rocking the boat.
This podcast has encountered some rough waters.
For the record, I still have not seen Aquaman.